Welcome everyone to Mobile Rolling. We're back here at House of Chow on Hutt Street. And if you haven't seen part one of our interview with George Fiacchi, go back and look at it on YouTube, Facebook or mobilerolling.net. We're here for part two now. It's time to ask your questions again. Of course, you've sent through your questions on mobilerolling.net, and today we are going to ask them. Just a reminder, these aren't my questions, they're yours. So let's have a look and see where we are starting off. George, we're going to talk about the Cleverham Report now. Now, the Cleverham Report was put in a couple of years ago. Do you see it getting implemented and at some stage in the future?
Yeah, so Cleverham Report was actually put together in 2017, and it followed the Bentley Report, which is 2007. So, and both of them are very similar, and both state the same objectives, basically. That there should be one governing body, and HRSA is probably that person who should be, or that organisation should be, and quite a few other recommendations, but the main one was that. Your question is, do we see that being implemented? Well, as a board, that'll be one of our prime objectives, is to make sure that's implemented, or try to get that implemented. Now, we obviously have a few hurdles in place. The whole industry voted on it, and everyone agreed, bar the racing club at Globe Derby, which they have a 50% voting right, so they squashed it, which has affected the whole industry. So the whole industry wants it there, apart from a handful of people. So we need to change that thinking and try to get it implemented, because I think it's critical for the future of harness racing here in South Australia.
Now, just a question off topic here. With the Cleverham Report, now, we see how Greyhound Racing SA operates, where they are basically just one governing body and there's no really standout principal club. Would that be, obviously, with how Greyhound Racing SA operates, would that be an ideal model for you guys going forward at this stage?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yeah, I think it's HRSA is here to help the clubs and support the clubs, and I think that's what we want to do. And you know, I've got to say. Look, the relationship with the country clubs is fantastic. You know, we try to work as close as possible. We understand there's differences between having a Globe Derby. You know, that's where the future of racing will be, is Globe Derby Park, and the country clubs will come in and complement that, as you know, with their cups and their carnivals and what they have. So, look, the model in greyhounds, look, it does work for them. I think ours can be there, but I think nothing will happen unless HRSA can run racing here in South Australia. Once that's in place, I think you'll see a certainly different dynamic, and there'll be more. The clubs will prosper under that structure, because at the moment everyone's sort of fighting each other, and we've got to stop it.
We'll talk about Globe Derby. As you mentioned, then you want to see racing continue as much as possible at Globe Derby for the future as the home of harness racing. What do you think needs to be done to keep racing at Globe Derby viable?
Well, first and foremost, the committee's got to change. Okay, we've got the members have to get off their backside now. The members need to be proactive and go, we need change here. We need to make HRSA the governing body. All right, stop this voting against implementing the Cleverham Report. Once that's in place, then we can go about doing things like looking how can we improve the facilities. Like we've had some rain recently, which pulled off a race, which should never happen in this day and age. So we need to look after the track. I know the training facilities are second rate, but that's the responsibility of the racing club. It's not HRSA's responsibility. Now, we're happy to help where we can, but we can't be paying for leases and paying for hosting races and then also maintaining tracks. That's not the governing body's role. That's a racing club's role. Now, if they can't do it, then they need to move on, okay, and hand over responsibilities to an organisation that can run it, who can invest in the club and make sure that participants and everyone involved in harness racing can be proud to turn up to Globe Derby, so this is our club.
One of the things that was mentioned in these questions was Gawler, the Gawler Harness Racing Club. Of course, they're usually holding about 1 million a year at this point. Where does the board see Gawler in their future for harness racing in South Australia?
Well, look, I was lucky. I went to the Gawler Cup. And it was a great day. It was a really good day. Really good. Look, it's a good, fun atmosphere. It can't. At the moment, it's nowhere near ready to host racing on a regular basis. And I think it'd be, at the moment, a disservice to harness racing if we were to go to Gawler. Not to saying it can't be, because the track's fantastic, but I think the participants, facilities, etc., needs a lot of work. So so it's a good training track. Potentially can evolve into a really good racetrack, but it's still got a bit of work and a bit of investment to do, and it's going to cost a few bucks to bring it up to speed to where it needs to be.
One of the things you mentioned was your relationship with the country clubs. Talk to us a little bit more about that relationship and how vital it is for Harness Racing SA to maintain that relationship at a good standard.
Yeah, I think, look, it's important to have the country clubs continue involved, because what we want to see is not just hosting racing. We want to see trainers and breeders and owners populating the country tracks. That's what the whole purpose of it. Rather than host meetings, it's great country atmosphere and great little events they have there. But we want to see the population of harness racing grow out there, and that's the objective of having country tracks. From where I sit, and then then at least they can come into town. They can run a Globe Derby with our feature events, etc. But look, I think country tracks have had a big part of this industry and will continue to be a part of this industry. How big it looks in the future, I'm not sure, but we'll be working with country tracks to say, you know what, country club, put your business plans together. What is it you're looking for? Let's see how we can work it in. But I'm thinking, to be honest with you, on Monday night, Tuesday night, racing at country tracks doesn't work from what I've seen. Exactly. It needs to be a weekend feature, a great day. Victor do it really well. It's a holiday precinct, so it works really well when they have those school holidays and Sunday races. I think they work really well at country tracks. And Port Pirie seem to do quite well with Friday night meets. But it's got to be, it won't be on a regular basis, I wouldn't have thought. Not the way it's looking in the future.
Mentioning Port Pirie, they've been racing on Saturday nights over the last couple of years, usually every second Saturday night during a particular season of the year. Where do you see Port Pirie's preferred racing schedule in the future? Do you see them continuing with some fortnightly Saturday nights, or a majority of their means shifted to Friday night?
It's a really good question, Lachie. And look, I really can't answer it. They're building a racing calendar at the moment. So we have a racing committee which works on that. So as a board, they'll bring their suggestions to us, and we'll tick it off and say we agree, and they'll have their scenarios about why they're doing it and what the benefits are to harness racing. And once we've seen that, we'll tick on it. But at the moment, it'd be, I couldn't tell you what the schedule looks like.
One of these questions here is, do you see a future for country racing? Of course, I think that's probably a question that has an obvious answer, but how do you see the future for country racing?
Yeah, well, I reckon I may have answered that earlier. There certainly is a future for country racing, and I want to see country racing grow its participants. I want to reiterate that. I want to see more owners and trainers in the country areas, so that it grows the industry. That's what we're looking for. That's wishful thinking potentially, but hopefully that's one of the objectives we can tick off in the future.
One thing I'm going to add here, just going back to what we mentioned in part one with this whole coronavirus crisis going on, unfortunately, around the country and around the world, the continuation of harness racing here in South Australia has been vital, and it's been fantastic. You must be really proud of how your staff have handled themselves during the situation, and not only the staff of Harness Racing SA, but the participants overall of how they've handled themselves during this virus.
They've been fantastic, and to Ross Neal and his team, HRSA, I'll take my hat off to them, because they've done an amazing job. Some of the what he's been able to implement, him and his team have implemented, has been taken across into Melbourne and Sydney. Participants registering before they come in, ticking off. Make sure everyone's screened for temperature gauge. Make sure everyone's on the list. If you're not there, out you go. There's been a few people trying to break the rules, which is sad, but it shouldn't happen. But the participants overall have been great as well. They've stuck to social distancing, and we've been able to race. I was fearful that if they cancelled us as a racing industry and stopped us racing, what it would have done to the industry, because I'm not sure we could have come back from no revenue whatsoever. Now, our revenue's had a major drop. It's dropped 60% to some degree.
Clubs closed.
But it's understandable. We've been able to be on people's radars, and hopefully that behaviour and that become a habit to bet at Globe Derby Park. So I'm hoping that continues in the future.
Yeah, let's hope so. Now, one other thing we'd like to mention, of course, the stimulus package handed out by the state government last year to all three racing codes. For those who don't know a lot about that, just explain it and tell us a little bit more about that package that was handed out and Harness Racing SA.
You're going to explain it to me. No, obviously there was a stimulus package come out for all racing, because everyone's been struggling a bit. So it's been broken down. Look, I don't have the numbers and percentages, etc., top of mind. But some of it was for infrastructure, and some of it was for HRSA to distribute as which we've been using as prize money, basically, and to help us continue to grow the industry. Our percentage is really small. Obviously, we've I'm not sure what happened, but for some reason we've gone from an 11% to an 8% share of the total pool of prize money, which has hurt us as an industry. So this is one of our objectives as well as the board, is we need to get back in front of the government to renegotiate. Now greyhounds are not going to say, and no thoroughbreds going to say, I take some of our percentage back. They're going to go, bugger you. So we need to grow the pool, size of the pool. So that's why we need to get the industries all together, work together. How do we go to the government and sell our story? Because you know what? We do employ lots of people. We do look after the welfare of our horses. We are a great community event and great community industry. So we need to really push what the advantages are to us. And the more people interact with us online, the more money that comes back into this state. So for us, there's a lot of positives here that, gambling doesn't always have these positives, but there is a lot of positive with this industry, especially the way we look after our horses. We rehome a lot of them. The way when the money comes through into industry, distributes, and people get employed here in South Australia. So it's things that we really need to push harder, because a lot of people don't know that's a story with racing in general.
Now, George, as we mentioned in part one, you've had 6 months on the board now. Firstly, how have you been finding your time on the board?
Yeah, it's been, look, I'll use the word fun because fun is about challenging. We've been challenged, and certainly I've walked in going, oh, wow, I didn't realise it was like this. But what I've seen is so much passion. There are people that really love the industry, love the harness racing, and you can see why it's survived as long as it has. So I've enjoyed it. I see it as a challenge, and I enjoy a challenge. I look forward to challenges going through. But I really want to make sure that we can get over this hurdle, get that Cleverham Report in place. Once that's in place, then as an industry, we can all go together. And I think that's what's missing at the moment. Is that missing piece. If we can get that in, I think we'll all gel together and we'll all go for that one direction we want to be, is to have a successful harness racing where everyone can thrive. That's our goal. As a board. Yes.
Fantastic, George. Well, it's great to have you on at Harness Racing SA. Well done on your first 6 months, and of course, I think we've mentioned a lot about the stimulus package, and we've covered a lot about country racing, and of course, the board and Globe Derby and everything going on in the sport. And well, that basically, I think, wraps us up on Mobile Rolling with everything we've covered. Thank you very much for your time, George. Before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to mention on the Harness Racing SA forefront?
Yeah, look, thank you, Lachie. The main thing I want to talk to you about is the participants and people involved is just be patient. I know you want to see results straight away, but we've got to make sure the results are right. There's no use us going like a bull at a gate and trying to smash things through. We've got to do it correctly. And once we do it correctly, you'll start to see the scenarios and the objectives start to play out. So we're in planning stages at the moment. I can see some real positives. The last the last horse sales, the sales we had just recently, they were up 20%. So there is a lot of positives happening in this, so we just don't see it. We get bombarded with the bad news. There are a lot of positives. We need to stay focused on the positive. If we can keep Tuesday night racing going, it'll help us in the long term, because that'll bring more wagering income into the industry, and more industry income gets distributed to the industry. So be patient. If you've got any questions, most of you have my email address. Please send it to me. I'm happy to reply. I've replied to most of you. But again, put the harness racing industry first and put your objectives second. And we'll normally get to where we need to go. So stay with us.
Awesome. Thank you very much, George. Thank you for joining us on Mobile Rolling for this 2-part series on George Fiacchi. Thank you for sending through your questions on mobilerolling.net. And make sure, if you haven't checked out part 1, check out part 1, of course. And a big thank you again to House of Chow for their consistent support of this podcast series and us here at Mobile Rolling. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you again very soon.